Few comedies of the 1980s left a mark quite like Porky's. What appeared to be simple teenage pranks and coming-of-age humor hid the far more intricate, often painful, realities of the actors who brought these characters to life. Some rocketed to stardom, only to battle private heartbreaks behind closed doors. Others quietly built fulfilling lives far from Hollywood's relentless gaze. Today, we journey past the laughter to explore the real, often turbulent paths these stars walked long after the final credits rolled. Dan Monahan as Edward Pee Wee Morris. Dan Monahan, born July 20th, 1955, in the small city of Barberton, Ohio, was 26 when he brought Edward Pee Wee Morris to life. The hapless, wide-eyed teen whose desperate and often humiliating efforts to lose his virginity became the heart of Porky's comedic chaos. Pee Wee wasn't just the butt of jokes. He was the emotional core of the gang, a character whose innocence and clumsy determination made audiences both laugh and sympathize. Monahan's ability to blend slapstick humor with genuine vulnerability was key to why the character resonated so deeply. When Porky's hit theaters in 1981, it stunned Hollywood by earning over $100 million at the box office on a modest $5 million budget. The film became the highest-grossing Canadian-made film ever at that point, cementing its place in pop culture and making Monahan's face instantly recognizable. Pee Wee's antics, from peeking into locker rooms to the infamous prank at Porky's bar, became defining images of teen comedy in the early 1980s. However, what seemed like a breakthrough proved to be a double-edged sword. Monahan, with his boyish charm and youthful appearance, quickly found himself typecast. Casting directors struggled to envision him in roles beyond the awkward, earnest teen, despite his classical training and earlier promise on the stage. Before Porky's, Monahan had already earned respect in theater circles, performing in productions ranging from Richard III to A Midsummer Night's Dream. But Hollywood's narrow lens meant that substantial dramatic parts eluded him. He reprised Pee Wee in Porky's 2, The Next Day, and Porky's Revenge, but offers beyond the franchise dwindled. A few notable appearances followed, such as in Up the Creek and From the Hip, where he tried to showcase range, and a small role in Romeo and Juliet, marking his final screen credit. By the early 2000s, Monahan quietly stepped away from acting, disenchanted with the industry's limitations. Today, at 69, Monahan lives a low-profile life, far from the glitz of Hollywood. He occasionally attends fan conventions, where he is met with warmth and nostalgia. In interviews, he reflects with honesty and humor on a career that brought both joy and frustration, a reminder of how one defining role can both open doors and close them. Mark Harrier was 26 when he stepped into the role of Billy McCarthy, the loyal, level-headed best friend who often acted as the moral compass within the wild group of teens at the center of Porky's. Born on October 6, 1954, in Lompoc, California, Harrier gave Billy a relatable charm that helped ground the film's otherwise outrageous antics. Where other characters chased pranks and mayhem, Billy often provided the voice of reason, balancing out Pee Wee's naivety and Tommy's schemes. The bond between Billy and Pee Wee offered a layer of emotional authenticity that audiences connected with, helping to make the film not just a comedy, but a snapshot of youthful camaraderie. Harrier's performance earned praise for its subtlety amid the slapstick, and his natural chemistry with the ensemble cast contributed to Porky's becoming a massive commercial hit, pulling in over $100 million at the box office. He reprised Billy in Porky's the Second, The Next Day, and Porky's Revenge, further solidifying his association with the franchise. But despite the film's success, Harrier, like many of his co-stars, soon discovered that the notoriety from such a specific genre role could be limiting. Hollywood proved reluctant to see beyond the familiar face of Billy McCarthy. While film opportunities became sparse, Harrier refused to let typecasting define him. He appeared in Real Men, a 1987 comedy action film, but soon shifted his creative focus behind the camera. Harrier found new purpose in directing and producing, particularly in theater, where he could return to his roots and work on material that spoke to him personally. His work in theater earned respect within the arts community, allowing him to engage with storytelling in deeper, more meaningful ways. In addition to his theater work, Harrier reappeared on screen in a memorable arc on Bosch, portraying Captain Dennis Cooper in 19 episodes. His measured, authoritative performance reminded viewers of the steady talent that had made Billy so beloved decades earlier. Now 71, Harrier continues to work passionately in theater, choosing projects that allow him to explore complex narratives and mentor younger artists, all while maintaining the humility and dedication that marked his earliest days in the industry. Wyatt Knight, as Tommy Turner. Born on January 20th, 1955 in Manhattan, New York, Wyatt Knight brought energy and charisma to the role of Tommy Turner, the fearless instigator of Porky's most outrageous schemes. At just 25, Knight played Tommy as the ultimate risk-taker, the guy who could charm his way out of trouble or lead his friends into it. With his quick wit and infectious grin, Knight made Tommy one of the most memorable characters in the film, the heart of the gang's wild adventures. His performance struck a perfect balance between playful defiance and genuine loyalty, making him a fan favorite as Porky's rocketed to box office success. Knight reprised Tommy in Porky's the Second, the next day in Porky's Revenge, cementing his place in 80s pop culture. But with that recognition came an unintended consequence. The image of the brash, prank-loving Tommy became so closely associated with Knight that casting directors struggled to envision him in more serious or varied roles. Despite his talent, Hollywood's narrow view kept him on the fringes. He appeared in television shows like Family Ties, Murder, She Wrote, Pacific Blue, and Chicago Hope, where he took on supporting parts that showed flashes of his depth, but none matched the visibility of his Porky's fame. Off-screen, Knight faced hardships that few saw. In the years leading up to his death, he underwent intensive treatment for stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, including bone marrow transplants that left him with debilitating chronic pain. The physical toll of the disease, combined with the emotional strain of a stalled career, weighed heavily on him. On October 25, 2011, at the age of 56, Wyatt Knight took his own life at his home in Maui, Hawaii. His wife, Sylvina, later described him as a kind, gentle soul, a loving father and husband who never stopped dreaming, even as he struggled under the shadow of his most famous role. Knight's story remains a sobering reminder of the unseen battles faced by those who once seemed unstoppable on screen. Roger Wilson as Mickey Jarvis. Roger Wilson, born October 8, 1956, in New Orleans, Louisiana, was just 24 when he stepped into the role of Mickey Jarvis, the fiery and fiercely loyal friend at the heart of Porky's. Mickey wasn't just another prankster in the group. He was the muscle with a conscience, the first to stand up when things turned serious, particularly when facing off against the notorious Porky Wallace. Wilson's sharp intensity and natural confidence gave the film moments of genuine grit, providing balance to the otherwise slapstick chaos. His performance made Mickey a standout in the ensemble, earning praise for adding emotional weight to the film's more absurd moments. After Porky's, Wilson reprised his role in Porky's the Second the next day and appeared in projects like Thunder Alley, where he explored a more dramatic character in a rock music setting. He also took on roles in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, miniseries adaptation, and Second Time Lucky. But despite early promise, his Hollywood momentum slowed. Frustrated with the limited and often one-dimensional parts he was offered, Wilson began shifting his focus behind the scenes. Beyond acting, Wilson explored screenwriting and music, areas where he felt he had greater creative control. In the late 1980s, he gained attention in the tabloids not for his work, but for his high-profile relationship with supermodel Christy Turlington. Their engagement ultimately ended quietly, leaving Wilson disillusioned not just with Hollywood, but with the glare of public scrutiny. By the early 2000s, Wilson transitioned into an entirely different field, healthcare. Combining business acumen with a passion for service, he became an executive specializing in developmental strategies, helping organizations innovate and grow. Now 68, Wilson lives a life far removed from the fame of his youth. He occasionally reflects on his acting years at select events, but has found peace and purpose in a career built on helping others rather than chasing the next role. His story is one of resilience, reinvention, and a determination to define success on his own terms. Sirill OReilly as Tim Kavanagh. Sirill OReilly, born June 9, 1958 in Los Angeles, California, was just 23 years old when he portrayed Tim Kavanagh in Porky's. Unlike many of the film's more overtly comedic characters, Tim brought a layer of emotional depth to the story. OReilly skillfully depicted a teenager caught between the reckless fun of youth and the dark, suffocating influence of his bigoted and domineering father. His character's internal struggle, torn between loyalty to his friends and fear of defying his upbringing, offered some of Porky's most poignant moments, setting him apart in a film known for its wild humor. Following Porky's, OReilly built a varied career in both film and television. He appeared in Porky's 2, the next day, reaffirming Tim's place as the group's conscience. In Dance of the Damned, he showed his ability to tackle darker, more intimate narratives, playing a vampire grappling with moral conflict. His role in Navy SEALs placed him alongside major stars, further demonstrating his versatility. On television, OReilly took on parts in popular series like Matlock, Saint Elsewhere, Hunter, and Murder, she wrote. These appearances, while often brief, highlighted his ability to bring nuance to supporting roles. However, as the years passed, OReilly found himself caught in the common trap of 1980s breakout actors, beloved by fans but overlooked by casting directors for leading roles. Offers became sporadic, and he faced long stretches without meaningful work, despite his evident talent. Disillusioned by the industry's unpredictability, OReilly eventually shifted his focus toward producing and mentoring, using his experience to guide young actors through the challenges of Hollywood. Now 67, OReilly lives quietly, stepping into the spotlight only for select projects or fan gatherings. He remains deeply passionate about storytelling, but chooses his engagements carefully, determined to maintain the balance that often eluded him during his early years in show business. His journey reflects the highs and lows of a career shaped as much by integrity as by circumstance. Kim Catrol as Miss Lynn Lassie Honeywell. Kim Catrol, born August 21, 1956, in Liverpool, England, was 25 years old when she portrayed Miss Lynn Lassie Honeywell in Porky's. Her role as the sultry gym teacher, whose passionate reaction in the equipment room earned her the nickname Lassie, became one of the most unforgettable moments in teen comedy history. Although the scene lasted only minutes, it left an indelible mark on pop culture and made Catrol one of the most recognizable faces of the early 1980s comedy boom. However, Catrol was determined from the outset not to let this single moment define her as an actress. In the years following Porky's, she worked tirelessly to showcase her range. She landed prominent roles in films such as Big Trouble in Little China, where she played a strong-willed lawyer caught in a supernatural adventure, and Mannequin, where her charm and comedic timing turned an improbable love story into a cult hit. Her television work during this period also included appearances in Cheers and The Outer Limits, further demonstrating her versatility. Catrol's true breakthrough came with Sex and the City, where she embodied Samantha Jones, a character who redefined portrayals of female sexuality on television. Bold, unapologetic, and fiercely independent, Samantha became a cultural icon, earning Catrol multiple award nominations, including 5 Emmy nods and a Golden Globe win. But behind the scenes, her success came with personal challenges. Catrol went through 3 marriages, to Larry Davis, Andre J. Lyson, and Mark Levinson, all of which ended in divorce. She has spoken candidly about her struggles with loneliness and the sacrifices she made for her career, including her decision not to have children. Catrol's off-screen battles also included a much-publicized feud with Sex and the City co-star Sarah Jessica Parker, which became a point of fascination for fans and the media. Despite the tension, Catrol has remained focused on her work and advocacy. At 68, she continues to act in film and television, including recent appearances in series like How I Met Your Father, while using her platform to speak out about ageism, gender bias, and the pressures women face in Hollywood. Her journey reflects both the resilience and reinvention that have defined her remarkable career. Nancy Parsons as Beulah Balbricker. Nancy Parsons, born January 17, 1942, in St. Paul, Minnesota, was 39 when she turned Beulah Balbricker into one of Porky's most unforgettable and riotous figures. As the stern, no-nonsense gym teacher, Parsons delivered a performance that balanced exaggerated comedic fury with genuine commitment. Her high-pitched shrieks, relentless pursuit of the boys who crossed the line, and infamous obsession with identifying the locker room prankster gave the film some of its most iconic moments. Parsons' ability to fully inhabit the character, never playing Balbricker for cheap laughs but instead with full conviction, elevated what could have been a caricature into something memorable and enduring in pop culture. Following Porky's, Parsons reprised her role in the sequels and carved out a career largely built on playing strong, intimidating women with a hidden depth. She appeared in Steel Magnolias, where she shared the screen with some of Hollywood's leading ladies, and in Ladybugs, adding a familiar note of authority and humor. Her other credits included work in Days of Our Lives, Remington Steele, and The Pretender, among dozens of other television and film projects. Despite the steady stream of roles, Parsons often found herself typecast, as Hollywood preferred to see her in supporting parts that echoed Balbricker's tough exterior, rarely offering her the opportunity to show the full range of her talent. Off-screen, Parsons led a quiet and deeply devoted life as a mother and wife. She faced significant health challenges, including a long battle with diabetes, which increasingly limited her ability to work in her later years. Those who knew her spoke of her resilience, generosity, and unwavering dedication to her craft, qualities that remained until her final days. On January 5, 2001, Nancy Parsons passed away at the age of 58 due to complications from heart failure related to diabetes. Her daughter later reflected that Nancy gave everything to her work and her family, always striving to bring authenticity to every role, even when the industry offered little recognition in return. Her legacy endures in the laughter and fond memories she left behind. Chuck Mitchell as Porky Wallace. Chuck Mitchell, born November 28, 1927, in Connecticut, was 54 when he brought to life Porky Wallace, the corrupt, greasy nightclub and brothel owner who served as the main antagonist in Porky's. With his booming voice, menacing grin, and imposing presence, Mitchell made Porky the perfect villain, one that audiences despised but couldn't look away from. His portrayal was so vivid and over-the-top that it provided the perfect target for the film's rowdy heroes, and viewers relished every moment of his eventual downfall. Porky Wallace became not just a character, but a symbol of the hypocrisy and exploitation the teens sought to topple, and Mitchell's work in the role helped turn the film's climax into one of the most satisfying scenes in early 80s comedy. After the success of Porky's, Mitchell reprised his role in Porky's Revenge, further cementing the character in pop culture memory. He also took on supporting roles in films like Better Off Dead, where his comic timing shone once again as a pompous diner owner, and Don't Answer the Phone, where he played against type in a darker thriller setting. His television appearances included guest spots on popular series such as Hill Street Blues and Remington Steele, where his robust persona often made him a memorable addition to any episode. Despite his talent for commanding attention on screen, Mitchell's career was increasingly hampered by declining health. He battled alcoholism, and ultimately, cirrhosis of the liver led to his untimely death on June 22, 1992, at the age of 64. Those who worked with him remembered him as a consummate professional with a flair for transforming even small roles into unforgettable moments. Though he never became a leading man, Chuck Mitchell left behind a legacy as one of the most iconic comedic villains of his era, a performer whose work in Porky's continues to be celebrated by fans who love to hate Porky Wallace. Tony Ganos as Anthony Meat Tuparello. Tony Ganos, born October 21, 1959, in Brooklyn, New York, was just 22 when he stepped into the role of Anthony Meat Tuparello in Porky's. With his towering build, broad shoulders, and natural charisma, Ganos brought to life a character who could easily have been reduced to a stereotype, but instead became one of the film's most lovable figures. Meat was the muscle of the group, but his gentle nature and loyalty to his friends won over audiences. Whether hoisting his buddies into mischief or blushing in moments of awkward romance, Ganos infused Meat with warmth that balanced the film's bawdy humor. Ganos reprised the role in both sequels, where Meat remained the heart and muscle of the team. His work in Porky's opened doors to other opportunities, including playing Perry in The Wanderers, a cult classic about Bronx street gangs, and later appearances in action films like Die Hard 2, where he portrayed one of the terrorists in the group led by Colonel Stewart. He also had a small role in Rising Sun, sharing the screen with Sean Connery and Wesley Snipes. Yet despite these credits, Ganos found himself consistently typecast. Hollywood repeatedly offered him variations of the tough guy, the enforcer, the heavy, roles that, while paying the bills, didn't allow him to explore the fuller range of his abilities. By the mid-1990s, disillusioned with the lack of variety in his career, Ganos chose to step away from acting. He transitioned into a more stable and private life, working in business and finding satisfaction beyond the entertainment industry. While he no longer pursued new roles, Ganos maintained a warm relationship with fans. He made appearances at fan conventions where he was always greeted with enthusiasm and affection by those who fondly remembered Meat's big heart and bigger grin. Now, 66, Ganos reflects on his time in Hollywood with good humor, grateful for the role that gave him lifelong recognition, even as he found peace in stepping out of the spotlight. Cocky Hunter as Wendy Williams. Cocky Hunter, born November 6, 1955, in Topanga Canyon, California, was 26 when she brought Wendy Williams to life in Porky's. In a film packed with adolescent male hijinks, Hunter's Wendy stood out as a rare female character who matched and often outwitted the boys at their own game. Clever, self-assured, and refreshingly unflappable, Wendy refused to play the damsel or the target of crude jokes. Instead, she joined in the rebellion with wit and boldness, helping to level the playing field in a world where the pranks were typically one-sided. Hunter's natural charisma and comedic timing made Wendy a fan favorite, and her performance resonated with young women who saw in her a rare depiction of female agency in teen comedies of that era. Hunter reprised her role in the Porky's sequels, continuing to deliver a spirited, independent Wendy who was more than just a sidekick to the boys' antics. Outside of Porky's, she took on roles in films like Roadie and Just the Way You Are, and made guest appearances on television shows such as Hawaii Five-0. But as the 1980s progressed, Hunter found herself frustrated by the limited range of parts available to women, especially those who resisted being typecast as either the love interest or the comic relief. Hollywood, with its narrow view of female roles at the time, offered her fewer opportunities to showcase her full talent. By the early 1990s, Hunter made the deliberate decision to leave the film industry behind. She turned her energy toward causes and passions that aligned more closely with her values. She co-authored Earth Bag Building, a book promoting sustainable construction techniques, and found joy and purpose as a whitewater rafting guide and instructor in Moab, Utah. Now 69, Hunter occasionally attends fan conventions where she is warmly celebrated for her trailblazing role in Porky's. She looks back on Wendy Williams with pride, grateful for the character who let her break molds and for the courage it took to build a meaningful life beyond the screen. Scott Colombi as Brian Schwartz. Scott Colombi, born September 19, 1952, in Brooklyn, New York, was 29 when he portrayed Brian Schwartz, the quick-thinking, witty strategist of the Porky's crew. Colombi's performance gave the film an added layer of cleverness, as Brian often devised the group's most elaborate pranks and plans, balancing out the more impulsive energy of characters like Tommy and Pee-wee. His sharp one-liners and natural sense of timing made him a standout in an ensemble cast known for its chaotic humor. Beyond Porky's, Colombi had already made a splash with his role as Tony D'Annunzio in Caddyshack, where his portrayal of the cocky caddy rival added to his growing reputation for playing smart, confident characters. He appeared in films such as Desperate Measures and made guest appearances on shows like Days of Our Lives and Generations. However, as trends in Hollywood shifted toward flashier, high-concept comedies and action-heavy blockbusters, the kind of grounded, character-driven roles Colombi excelled at became harder to find. Choosing not to chase fame at any cost, Colombi moved behind the scenes, dedicating himself to mentoring young actors and working in production. He found lasting fulfillment in helping others navigate the challenges of the entertainment world, drawing from his own experiences of both success and struggle. Now 72, Colombi remains active at industry workshops and fan conventions, where he is fondly remembered not only for his memorable roles, but also for his generosity and commitment to the craft. Susan Clark as Cherry Forever. Susan Clark, born March 8, 1943 in Sarnia, Ontario, Canada, was 38 when she took on the role of Cherry Forever in Porky's. As the clever and self-assured woman hired for one of the film's most outrageous pranks, Clark brought a mix of allure, humor, and authority to a part that could have been played purely for shock. Her portrayal turned Cherry into more than just a punchline. She was the one character in the scene who maintained control, making the boys the butt of the joke instead. Before Porky's, Clark had already built an impressive resume with performances in films like Coogan's Bluff opposite Clint Eastwood and Airport 1975, where she played a key role in one of the decade's big-budget disaster films. She was known for her poise, versatility, and ability to hold her own alongside major stars. After Porky's, Clark reached a new level of household recognition, starring in Webster, where she played Catherine Papadopoulos for 150 episodes. The show, in which she acted opposite her real-life husband, Alex Karras, became a beloved staple of 1980s television. Their marriage was known for its strength and longevity in an industry where relationships often falter. After Karras's passing in 2012 from kidney failure, Clark chose to retreat from the spotlight. Now 82, Susan Clark lives a private, peaceful life, remembered not just for Cherry Forever's confident smirk or Webster's maternal warmth, but for a career defined by integrity, resilience, and the ability to shine across genres and decades. Art Hindle as Ted Jarvis. Art Hindle, born July 21, 1948 in Halifax, Nova Scotia, played Ted Jarvis, the steadfast older brother who steps in to support Mickey and his friends in their quest for justice against Porky. As Ted, Hindle brought a quiet strength and sense of moral authority that grounded the film's more outrageous moments. His presence added a layer of seriousness to the comedic chaos, showing the loyalty and protective instincts of family. Beyond Porky's, Hindle's career blossomed with over 200 credits across film and television. He became well known for his work in Invasion of the Body Snatchers and The Brood, solidifying his reputation in horror and science fiction. On television, he earned acclaim in Canadian series like ENG, where he portrayed Mike Fennell and Paradise Falls. Hindle has also directed and produced, and he's a fixture in Canada's acting community. Now 77, Hindle continues to act, mentor young performers, and participate in film festivals, respected for both his talent and his contributions to nurturing Canadian cinema. Which of these stories touched you the most? Share your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoyed this journey, give us a like, share with friends, and subscribe for more deep dives into cinema's hidden histories.